Hi there, it's Mark, and today we're going back to basics in Lightroom, or rather the basic panel. Many people, myself included, will edit and possibly look at a picture and adjust the exposure, then possibly decide to bring the highlights down a little bit or the shadows up or whatever, without necessarily realizing that one does impact the other. And this varies from picture to picture, so this isn't hard and fast, but it's something you need to be aware of. So today we're going to be looking at how the major tone divisions are split, how they can affect each other, and how, for example, if you really want to adjust blacks, it has very little effect on colour. And how, if you wanted to adjust highlights, it does impact colours if you look at the greens to the left. So, what's that all about? Well, I might not get the full explanation for you, but I'll show you what to look out for, because one slider can impact what something should. This was right in my head. One slider can impact what should be another slider's job. No edits on this channel. Onward and upward. Titles, cup of tea. See you shortly. Oh, and all the pictures we use today are available on my website, and the link is down below in the naughty place, so on the side in the naughty place, wherever you've got your screen set up. 10 seconds, get cracking. Okay, so here we are in sunny Lightroom, and these 4 pictures are available, as I said earlier, off my website. Link down below in the video notes. Now, I don't profess to say there's a right and a wrong way to edit. What I prefer to do is give you some of the ideas, tips, tricks and techniques I've learned over the years, and it's up to you whether you like them or not. Well, it's not up to you like them or not. You will like them or not. It's up to you whether you use them or not, whether you find them useful. And remember, the golden rule in editing is that if you like the result, then it was the right edit for you. Doesn't care what anybody else says, whether they're a renowned photographer, whether it's a photography club, whether it's a photography club judge, it makes no difference. They can offer advice and guidance as they see it to your picture, but it's your picture, and if you are happy with it, that is all that counts. Everyone else can take a run and jump. That said, listen to me, because I shall tell you how to do it properly. No, seriously, that said, let's have a typical edit. This picture here, D for our develop module, and I'll just hide this panel. So we're in Lightroom, develop module. You have all your familiar panels. You've got basics, calibration. Calibration for you might be at the bottom. I've moved it up there because I use it quite a lot, so I have it there. Anyway, sequence loose, and we're just going to have a look at the basics panel. And you've got these tonal areas. We could switch on a histogram, but that'll spoil things for the moment. A little bit of a distraction for now. You've got exposure, highlights, shadows, whites and blacks, and they're in order for a reason. This order is kind of the order that Adobe think is the correct order to go through, and I don't think that's right, and I don't think it's wrong. But let's have a look at the overall exposure. Do we want to change it? Well, is that any better? Is that any better? Well, yeah, no. Well, let's wriggle it. Let's see what range we've got. Now that's clearly better, as is that. So by just moving it back and forward rather than incrementally, you can kind of get a better idea of where you want to end up. And I want to end up about there, I think. I'm not even looking over here. Once I've clicked on my slider and I'm moving it, I'm watching here. If someone says, oh, set your exposure to 15, your highlights to 20, rubbish. You shouldn't even know what these numbers are. You shouldn't even be looking. You should be looking here, because that's what counts. Anyway, highlights. Now I do want to bring highlights down because I know they are very good for definition in the sky, as you can see there. But could I get better? Yeah, possibly there. Certainly don't go the other way. But again, wriggling it shows me the dynamic range of that slider on this picture. So it's worth doing the wriggle on every picture. So I think about there. But if you look down at the bottom of the boat here, you'll see that that is also changing with the highlights. So want to bear in mind. That's where we're going to go, by the way. We're not going to go at the bottom of the board. We're going to go at the fact that these overlap. Shadows, lift them up a little bit. They're mostly around the side walls, so I think that's okay. I think that's all I'm going to do on this. Let's see a bit of clarity in there. It brings it out in the brickwork, but too much grittiness coming through here. So I'd probably paint the clarity on. So let's just do that because I want to finish this edit before I move on. So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to choose a brush. And I'm going to put a bit bigger. And I'm just going to come in here, rough paint in the walls. You can do this very slapdash. It only becomes wrong if you then do extreme. So I've chosen that. If I go extreme on my clarity, I can get away with that. But if I was using something else like exposure, then it certainly shows up that it was roughly painted. But we're not doing any dramatic changes here, so we can get away with that rough bit of brushwork. And I'm going to bring that clarity back up. Get the definition back into some of that brickwork and possibly lift the shadows. There, and I'm quite happy with that. Job done. So there you are. There's my edit on this picture. What else would I actually do? Well, I'd probably crop it off my recrop. I'll bring it down, get rid of some of the bottom line, straighten that horizon, and then I would think it was done. Okay, let's move on to looking at how these sliders actually impact things. And we're going to do that by playing a little bit of a guess game here. We've got 11 bands from black through to white inclusive, and we're going to look at them from whites, highlights, shadows and blacks, and then tag exposure on at the end. So what do you think whites will impact? Positively? Clearly it impacts whites, but look how far down it actually encroaches. In terms of the number of bands, I think that's getting on to halfway, if not more. Okay, this is a bit of a special case picture, but notwithstanding that, negatively. Now that's interesting. The negative sweep of the whites is literally staying to the top two bands. And if I do positive and negative on it there, now that surprised me the first time I saw it. I didn't think that whites positively would come so far down through grey tones. What about highlights? Positively, it's kind of the same. It's lesser so than whites. It's hitting the whites obviously a lot, and it's more subtle as it falls off, but it's still right hand biased here, and it doesn't actually creep down as far. Whites took us much further across the grayscale than highlights. What about negatively? I think negatively it's kind of on a par, a little bit more strong than whites. Let's do the other two in reverse order as well. I'll just double click on those to reset them to 0. Let's do the reverse order. Let's go blacks. So blacks negatively is kind of the first 4 bands encroaching into the 5th. These bands just been arbitrary, by the way. I could have made this 24 color, 24 shades or whatever, but it's just arbitrary. Negatively, I lifting the blacks. It doesn't impact black itself, and it's kind of more into shadow grounds, whereas the negative side does creep over more. That's interesting. And shadows, what we're going to do here, lift the shadows. Now that is more general. That is going across quite a lot. It's not impacting the last 3 bands on the right at all, more or less. But if we do that, you can kind of see what that's doing. Okay, so some of that was unexpected, I think. Exposure, well, this is the mid-tone really grows out into shadows and blacks and highlights and whites. No surprising, take it all out. And the other way, it lifts everything, except exposure cannot lift black. There's a lesson. It can take it out of everything, but it cannot lift black. What does this look like if we introduce colour? Next picture. Oh, next picture. There it is. So here we're going to do exposure, and as we just said, it takes the exposure of everything and overtly brightens everything. That's kind of to be expected. What about whites? Well, whites is not really impacting the colours very much at all. Your perception is that it does because the colour surrounding the red, green and blue is changing, framing it differently. But if you really concentrate on the middle dot, it's not changing that much at all. Blacks, more so, it's more apparent here with blacks. Those colours are hardly, if at all, changing to my eye. They are more or less staying as they are. Shadows, same as blacks. Highlights is impacting colour a lot more. If you look to the to the left and look at the green in particular, and to the right and look at the green. Okay, so we're learning that these tonal sliders do impact colour depending on the colour. Whether or not that's obvious in your picture, such as a picture like that, remains to be seen. But the moral of the story is that these do overlap. So back to our regular edit. If you come across a picture, there we go, back to this one, develop. If you come across a picture, reset it, and we start editing this and we want to adjust the exposure, then there is some black impacted, there is some white impacted to lesser degrees, but more so highlights and shadows. So one way to get rid of something that's blown out, as we'll see when we do a picture of Ella, is you bring the highlights down, but then you recover it with the exposure. And we've learned that by looking at what we've seen so far. Let's jump to that picture of Ella now, shall we? I'll make this the last one and then we're out of here. So let's reset the tones on this by clicking on tone. Okay, so here it's clearly got some things blown out. I want to address that. I want to make Ella brighter. I want to make the cave brighter, and with that as our initial goal, let's take it from there. So first things first, I'm going to bring highlights down, and you can see I'm recovering things from the cave behind. Again, a big wobble to help me see what's happening. Really, that's doing quite a good job bringing things down. White is not really doing much at all from a negative point of view. Clearly, I don't want to go that way, but if I bring whites down to this side, as you can see, by virtue of wriggling the slider, not moving it slightly, I get to see the range. I am going to bring whites down a little bit, but now I'm going to recover things with the exposure. So I'm bringing up the general exposure, but then I can start and take things down with the others because they overlap, because they've got this overlap. Blacks, I don't really want to touch. Shadows, do I want to lift them from inside the cave? Yes, I think I probably do want to lift them, but I don't want to lift them on Ella. So what I'm going to do, rough and ready, come up here, select the brush, make it quite big, and I'm just going to paint roughly in here. It wins the day because we're not doing anything detailed at all. And once I've done that, I'm then going to bring up dash shadows, because it's not an intensive change, it's a subtle change, so I can get away with being rough and ready. I think that's got a bit more of a balance on the picture for me now. I'm going to roll back the exposure a little bit. I think I've already got a vignette on this. Yes, I do. Got a small vignette on this. And there you go. Do I want to change anything else? White wasn't really doing much. There's a little bit of flare on the water behind when I was changing the whites. Okay, I think I'm kind of happy with that. So, moral of this edit, I want to address clearly some lighter tones. We know that highlights are not alone. We know that whites are not alone. We know that exposure is not alone. These things overlap. So address the things of immediate issue, such as we knew it was whites and highlights that were blown out here, but then bring some of it back with exposure. And it's integrating, playing back and forward between them that makes the difference. And that's all I have for you. I hope you found this useful and it makes you think about how to better balance your pictures. And if nothing else, wriggle those sliders. Would clarity work on this? Negative clarity? No. Positive clarity? Absolutely not. But by just slightly jockeying back and forward, you can get a better idea. Personally, I think on this picture, because it's nice and soft, I think I'll probably bring the whole picture down with texture. And if that really bugged me, it doesn't. But let's off or recrop and just get rid of it with a crop. And while we're doing that, just put a bit more balance in there. There's my finished picture. You can edit how you want. You might not like this. You might like it. That's irrelevant. If I like it, then that's good enough. See you on the next one. Bye for now.